Chapter 12. You are blessed. Romans 4:7-7 tell us, just as David also speaks of the blessing on the man whom God credits righteousness apart from works, blessed are those whose lawless deeds have been forgiven and whose sins have been covered. Blessed is the man whose sin the Lord will not take into account. In this passage, David mentions three attributes of a blessed man. A man is blessed when their sin is forgiven, covered, and remembered no more. We have covered the first two parts in the last chapters. Now let's ask the question, how does God keep an account of my sin as a Christian? Or does he keep an account as a Christian? Exodus chapter 34, verse 7 tell us, He, God, will by no means leave the guilty unpunished, visiting their iniquity of the fathers on the children to the grandchildren, to the third and fourth generations. Under the old covenant, God would remember the sins of the fathers. Sour wine is a picture of the generational curse. Ezekiel and Jeremiah talk about a saying that people had during the Old Covenant, which reads, "The fathers eat the sour grapes, but the children's teeth are set on edge." According to American Heritage Dictionary, this, the phrase someone's teeth set on edge means something that one finds intensely intentionally irritating. Excuse me about that. This was a metaphor of explaining how the sins of the father were passed down to the children. Here's where this gets interesting. During Jesus' crucifixion, he was offered wine twice during the cross. The first wine was to ease the pain, almost a way to numb what was happening. According to David Mathis, the second wine was something that could have kept the criminal conscious for or as long as possible. So John 19, verse 30 tells us, therefore Jesus had received the sour wine and said, "It is finished." He bowed his head and gave up his spirit. One of the very last things that Jesus did for you on the cross was redeem you from all generational curses. There are still consequences for our actions and many habits that our parents have done that can carry over. As far as your judgment for sin, it has been removed. I believe that God still knows what we have done, but he does not bring it up. As Christians, there is no generational curse for us, but we still struggle with generational habits and mindsets. So, how can a loving, holy, and righteous God not count our sins against us? Because they were counted at the cross. How can God remember our sins no more? Because they were remembered at the cross. We have what David longed for. We are the blessed man that David once spoke about. We are blessed because our sin is forgiven, covered, and remembered no more.